Three, two, one. Hey, this is Tim Harris. We have a very special Friday podcast for you. Yesterday, Julie and I held a online Zoom mastermind with a really fantastic Coldwell Banker office in Las Vegas. And what we're going to do today on Friday's show, we're going to replay that for you so you can watch it and listen to the different things we talked about, the questions the agents had. And also, if you have an office, a team, a brokerage of any size or whatever, and you want Julie and I to do a similar event for you, exclusively for your agents, exclusively in your office, just let us know. You can message me directly over on Instagram, or frankly, you could just text me at 512-758-0206, and we'll schedule a event just for your agents. Perfect time of year to do it, leading into the new year. Get a lot of motivation, create a 90-day plan, all the things that agents need to be hearing now as they build momentum into the new year. Let me know if you're interested. Just text me directly at 512-758-0206. Hopefully you love today's podcast. Have a fantastic day.
Speaking of those amazing opportunities, I am excited to officially welcome Tim and Julie Harris to our sales meeting. Take a shot of this and we'll also send it to you all. Their website, they are coaches. They provide valuable information to the entire real estate industry. They have a special affinity to Las Vegas, which I'll allow them to elaborate on. But it was September 3rd when I was daily reading the Housing Wire, and I saw this headline, 25-year housing surge and why the boom is just beginning. It was exactly what I felt was needed for our industry to read. And I searched out Tim and Julie and thanked them for providing this kind of information to the marketplace. And guess what the text response was? We'd be happy to share this and elaborate on it at one of your sales meetings if you would like. What? I said yes, and here they are, and we are so excited to have them join us to share a little bit more about that article. And Tim and Julie, we sincerely appreciate you taking the time to be with us. And if I may, I'd like to just read the opening paragraph of the article that you submitted and hope it tees off some great information that we will have. And I got it in front of me, Tammy. For years, doom and gloom headlines have hyped a looming housing crash, but the data, demographics, and long-term trends tell a very different story. The United States isn't teetering on the edge of collapse. It's standing at the threshold of what we are calling a 25-year surge, a generational housing boom unlike anything we've seen before. Tim and Julie Harris, thanks so much for teeing up that wonderful article and submitting it to Housing Wire. I shared it immediately with our leadership team, and now we get to elaborate on it with our entire sales team. So thanks so much for joining us, and take it away.
Well, thank you for having us on. And of course, Bob, when you asked us to present to your group, you think we're going to say no to you? That's never going to happen. I mean,
Well,
come on now. And as far as our tie to Las Vegas, we have rental properties there, but we actually used to live there too. So we lived there for, part-time for like 7 or 8 years. Let's get to the meat of it. First of all, you guys are going to want the notes. Julie, can you hear me? Okay. Are you good?
I can. Can you hear me? I think I'm unmuted.
I can. I just can't see you. There's too many people,
You're
but
good.
that's okay. All right. So these notes are way more comprehensive than the Housing Wire article. And in the comments over on the side, in the chat over on the side, I gave you guys a link. Join our newsletter and get all the notes. And the notes are going to be very, very comprehensive. And we've designed all of our notes, and we do a daily podcast. We have the #1 daily real estate coaching and training podcast in the nation. And as far as the notes go, the only way for you to get them is just subscribe to the newsletter, and it's free. So there you go. You got no excuse.
That's awesome.
Why did we create these notes? We created these notes so obviously we can educate, train you guys, but also so you can then educate and train your own audiences, maybe through social media, through your buyers and sellers. It just, all the things. Julie and I have been, I think, absolutely amazed about how many of the predictions that she and I put out into the marketplace about a year ago on our podcast with regard to what were happening in housing, how many of them have come true. And since we did this article, Bob, there actually have been some other things that we didn't even predict that we're kind of picking up through the ether, through FHFA, which are just simply going to blow you guys away. So I want to just start out by being very clear. You guys don't have to take notes today. You're going to want to take notes, but I'm going to give you our notes. Just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and subscribe to the newsletter. And it's harrisrealestatedaily.com, or just scroll up in the chat section. All right.
And
so
we'll make sure that we provide that link in the sales meeting debrief as well as everyone.
I mean, it's the only place to get the notes, and then you'll get the newsletter every day with the updated notes as we update these notes. All right.
Awesome.
So let's get into this. Let's set aside our preconceived notions about the politics. Let's not talk politics. All right. So we're not going to say any trigger words. Some people, as soon as you say the president's name, they all of a sudden stop listening. Let's remember what our highest and truest purpose on this planet is, which is to be a service to other people. And the people that all of us have chosen to be of service to are buyers and sellers. Julie and I have chosen to be of service to all of you guys. And in turn, hopefully you're going to use this information to be of service to your buyers and sellers. And so in a time like this, where there is unprecedented opportunity in housing, I'm absolutely blown away that more people aren't talking about this. There has never been a time in the history of the United States, and next year we all celebrate our 250th anniversary. I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's never been a time in the history of the United States where the table, where essentially the cards have been so dealt in such a way that housing is going to win at a level that's never won before. The only other parallel to this would be what happened after World War II, but we're not going to get too nerdy with you guys, when the veterans were returning and their government was partnering with builders to build homes. So as we go through these points, I strongly caution you to set aside, again, your preconceived notions about politics or any of the rest of it. And then I also want you to realize that without a doubt, your best days are still ahead of you in your real estate business because of what we're about to present to you, and probably also your life. It's all about how you choose to use this information. Julie and I are going to share with you the points, but we're also going to give you the information where we got it, because you need to probably go and research all this on your own if you doubt of anything that we're about to tell you. All right. So are we setting the table correctly here? So your best days are still ahead of you. You're not too old. You're not too young. You're not too fat. You're not too skinny. You're not too ugly. You're not too pretty. You're not too overeducated, undereducated. So no more excuses. You're in the 25-year housing surge. It effectively has already started. And I know it's hard to see that in the data, but we're going to prove it to you, hopefully, with our time with you guys today. Now, there are way more than 10 points. And again, these are, we have actually, how many points were there, Julie? 15?
There's 15. Today we have the top 10, and I think there's probably even 2 or 3 more bonus points since we wrote that. Every day there's something new that we add to this, which is great.
Okay, so let's start out by what we know. We know this is for sure. We know that there's going to be a new housing program. We don't know what the name is. It's either going to be Make Housing Great Again. It's going to be put under the banner of some kind of national emergency for real estate and housing. And so it's going to be one of the biggest, most, I'd say, promoted programs that we'll have ever experienced in our lifetimes, as far as something with a lot of political power behind it. And I'm going to you guys should do this homework yourself. You should look into the release from conservatorship. And Julie, let's get to the first point here in a second, but I'm going to give them some advanced player notes. Okay. So you guys should go and research Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are coming out of a conservatorship, which is the Obama administration. Don't be triggered by names. Just listen to what I'm saying. Has been put in conservatorship in 2007 and 2008. There's going to be an IPO of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, supposedly in November, which will be the biggest IPO in history. You can still, frankly, buy Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac stock. We're not financial advisors. We're not telling you to buy it. We're not telling you not to buy it. But what I'm saying is we think that what we're going to see is all the predictions, all the things we're talking about, essentially happen around the same time of this IPO. So hopefully we're all on the same page so far. So realize Jules and I are not presenting something to you guys that's going to happen next year or 2 years from now. We're presenting something to you that's happening now, that's going to actually take place in the next 90 days or less in fourth quarter. So I want to start out with this big prominent thought. Your new year has already started. 2026 has already started. Don't wait until January of 2026, because you need to be building momentum into the new year. So that's the big thought, and hopefully we're going to motivate you with facts. It's not Jules and I don't do pep rallies. We try to motivate you guys with facts. All right, Jules, let's get to the first point.
Yes, that's right. Thank you for that pre-point. That's a very big one. The first official point, the $84 trillion wealth transfer. Think of it like this. After World War II, the GI Bill and new, suburban construction launched one of the greatest wealth building periods in US history. Today, we're about to witness something even larger than that. Why? Because boomers and the silent generation are poised to pass down more than $80 trillion in wealth over the next 2 decades. Much of it will arrive as inheritances, down payment gifts, and all cash purchases. That flow of capital accelerates homeownership for millennials and Gen Z while keeping liquidity circulating throughout the market. So here's the question to ask yourself as an agent. Are you positioned to work with the millions of first-time buyers who suddenly have parental cash backing them? Think about how it was during the pandemic, where they didn't have a leg to stand on. FHA, VA, forget about it. They were going to be bid out. They were bid out by investors, by cash buyers. Now there's going to be an $84 trillion wealth transfer. And that also speaks to the hot button of affordability. That's going to help stave off some of that issue because now they have significant down payments, if not full cash. So that's our first point.
Well, so think about that. $84 trillion, which is going to be inherited over the next 20 years, is going to put a massive amount of money in pockets of folks. And what are they going to spend it on? Yeah, I'm going to guess you guys are going to say real estate, and you're going to be right. They're going to spend it on real estate, largely on real estate. They're going to be buying other equities as well. But you're going to absolutely see, and especially when you guys hear the second point, you're absolutely going to see a huge increase in folks, not just, Julie said first-time buyers, but it's also going to be people that are going to be moving up, going from, your secondary, third buyers, luxury buyers. That the whole segment, if you guys look at, for example, the way the baby boomer thing works, there's 3 waves of the baby boomers, and I'm not going to get too nerdy on you, but the first wave is the smallest one. They're the oldest ones. And then the largest group of the baby boomers is a third wave. So what we're seeing is the first one and the second one, they're the ones that they're going to start basically passing along, money to their millennial children. And that is going to in turn, and they're also going to be doing what? They're going to be selling their homes. Mm-hmm. They're going to be themselves, moving, downgrading, all these other types of things. And in your market in particular, there already is obviously a lot of folks that are going to be, wanting to transact. So any of the amount of money that's going to be flowing into the hands of folks, is going to be unprecedented in the history of the world. That right there by itself should be motivational to all of you. And by the way, a lot of you guys are going to be inheriting money too, I'm sure. All right, Julie.
Tim and Julie, if I could, I think that's such a fabulous point, and we've been talking about it for quite some time. There certainly are, sadly, some of the haves and the have-nots, and there are in our children's range conversations about we'll never be able to afford a home or be able to buy a home. But there are. This transfer is so significant that it truly is going to cause even some people who thought they never would or could to be able to purchase. And I think we need to be looking at our databases and identifying the haves, because those haves, those parents may not have contemplated the opportunity of helping their children purchase a home today versus in the future, which will be a lot more expensive. So I think that's a fabulous point.
So I have a question for you guys. What's the average age of a first-time buyer? Put it over in chat. What's the average age of a first-time buyer today? You guys can put it in the chat. Whoever gets it first wins. Somebody already got it. 38. What was the average? What was the average? Smart group, Bob. What was the average age of a first-time buyer only about 10 years ago? There you go. Somebody already got it. Oh, you know what? Bob's putting in the answers.
No, I'm not, but they gave, we provided them this article in advance. So there's a little bit of that.
Okay. All right. So that's the thing. You got to be thinking now, why are they, so to Bob's point, with regards to the have and the have-nots, as far as the inheritable aspects of it, what we're going to get to hopefully on today's session is the fact that everything about mortgages is about to radically change. And the ability for people to obtain mortgage. You guys know that they just ditched the old FICO thing as the primary credit scoring mechanism for Fannie Freddie mortgages. Do you realize that they just replaced it? What's the term, Julie? Vera something or another? Anyway, it opened up 300,000 new buyers to be able to purchase homes per year. Now, I have a question for you guys. Do we have a house price problem, or do we have a payment problem? Do we have an expense? Which is the problem? The payment or the house, the price of the house? Exactly. Yeah, that's it. It's the payment. And so what the Trump administration is going to do is they're going to attack the payment. They're going to go after it in every way. And again, I'm going to get back to our notes so we can kind of go through this. I don't want to get too far off our notes, because I think what you guys are hopefully understanding is, if I don't know how long you guys have been in the business, but Julie and I have been in the business for over 30 years. We've been married for 34 years. And the rules about how to obtain a mortgage 30 years ago were virtually the same as they are now, which is stupid. And there's so many. Julie and I did another article, and we got a lot of hate online from PMI companies and other companies about this article. Julie's doesn't want me to say that, but it's true. The essence of it was that there's so much junk fees it's packed into a mortgage payment right now. I didn't even know. They call them tariffs, and there's taxes, and there's of course PMI. The Trump administration with these new programs is going to get rid of completely many of those types of add-on fees, thus lowering the payment. So the interest rates are already falling, and you're going to see the junk fees come out of mortgages. We did some math on how much the average buyer is paying per, that didn't put down 20%, how much they're paying on average in PMI insurance. It's astounding. And if you remove the PMI insurance, how many more people will qualify because they're going to be able to afford a higher payment? You guys get the gist of what we're saying? So even if you are in the have-not category, no inheritance coming, you're still going to qualify for, you're going to have a whole litany of people. Now, I'll tell you what I'd be doing right now if I were you. I would be calling every single one of my buyers and every single one of my sellers that are going to turn into buyers, and I would make them aware of these changes that are happening right now and get them motivated to obviously be a transaction for you going into the new year. All right, pent-up demand, Julie Harris.
Yes, and this is related to what we were just talking about. The median age of first-time home buyers has climbed to what we just talked about, 38 years old, up from 35 just a year ago, and well above the late 20s norm of the past decade, signaling that affordability constraints are adding years to the timeline of entering the market. NAR puts it as this: the median first-time home buyers reached an all-time high age of 38 years old. Millions are waiting for that affordability to improve. Demand isn't gone, it's just stacked and waiting to be unleashed. So what happens when all of that wealth gets transferred? Okay, and add to that lower interest rates and more inventory. Isn't that all those, that combination of those three things together make it so that we are still bubbling around 4 million sales? What happens when all those three things collide? Plus all of the additional points we're going to talk about today. I think part of the point of writing this article was to highlight the fact that it's not just one thing. We could talk about wealth transfer as that's the number one thing, but it's not the number one thing. There's at least 15 things. It's almost like the perfect storm of turning this ship around. So we want to pay attention to that with this pent-up demand. And that's a talking point that, that you see headlines sometimes, well, there's not enough demand, we're having a lot of, price reductions and all this, but there is tons of demand. So there we are with the average age being higher as well. And I was thinking too, maybe you guys, I'd be interested to see what you think about that wealth transfer impact on this. How many buyers that are maybe not first-time buyers will get off the fence and finally pull the trigger because they've got a larger down payment, which defeats the higher prices, right? So all of these things are intertwined. Are we ready for number 3, lower mortgage rates, which we've all been hoping for, right?
Well, so point number 3, lower mortgage rates unlock activity. You guys see what we're doing here. We're kind of showing you that going to the new year, we're going to see. So just think about this from a seller's perspective. When there's more buyers entering into the marketplace, what's going to happen to real estate values? Are they going to go up or are they going to go down? Right? Okay, here I have another question. This is if we just kind of pull out here and think about this, what happens to our country when more people own a piece of the American dream and they own a home? What happens when people who thought that they were left along the side of the road, not able to buy a home, are all of a sudden able to buy homes? What happens to the societal ills that we're all wading through right now? What happens to people's level of optimism? What happens to family formation when more people are able to buy homes? What happens to the crime rate? What happens to all the things? So this is what the Trump administration is acknowledging. They're saying a lot of the problems that we're dealing with societally is because a lot of people feel like they're left out of, there you go. I mean, a lot of people, it's a win for society.
It's instability on every level.
Right.
And homeownership does cure that. Go ahead.
If you feel like you are left out essentially you're no longer going to benefit from the American dream, of course you're going to have the negative messaging resonate with you. So the only way to really fix the negative messaging is make it so people feel like they actually are living the benefit of being homeowners. Julie Harris, what's the average net worth of a homeowner versus a renter?
It's 40 times.
Mm-hmm.
Think
And
about
I've
that.
read even higher than that, but the average net worth of a renter is somewhere around $4,000 or $5,000. I mean, you guys that have rentals, I look at the rental applications and you can tell what somebody has in the bank now. Sometimes it's less than $1,000 on a lease application where it's $1,500 a month. It's almost nothing. And then you look at the average net worth of somebody who's a homeowner. I mean, 50% of people who own homes that have mortgages have more than 50% equity in their homes. And that's of people who even have a mortgage. We're close to 50% paid off in this country.
Yep.
So clearly the net worth, it is the biggest wealth builder that you can do. And it is a forced savings account. That's all good. So there we have it. All right, number three.
Well, Julie,
go
we've
ahead.
kind of already gone over number 3, but if you want to
Yes.
just drill down some pertinent points, they already know it though, obviously.
Well, of course, lower rates are going to be a good thing. And we did a podcast, I think it's coming out today, actually. Is it today? Maybe Thursday. That was talking about all of the different types of mortgages that can have you close under 6%. So sure, if you want to do 30-year fixed, 20% down standard issue, you're going to be in the low 6s right now, which is a victory in itself. That's the lowest it's been in 11 months. However, those of you who work with builders, in Las Vegas is full of new construction. You know that the builders are doing not even ARMs in some cases. Sometimes it's a locked in builder buy down under 6% for 30 years. So that's something that we were highlighting this week in our podcast is yes, lower rates are great in terms of the standard issue, but that makes all of the other stuff even better, the adjustable rates, et cetera. So that's some homework as well, is to make sure that you are up to speed. And I know that Bob's probably got you guys super versed on all the different mortgage products and has some great mortgage connections for you to know that.
Well, Julie, let's go off our outline a little bit and let's tell
Sure.
them about one of the things that we discovered about the different kinds of mortgages that you and I discovered from reading deep into an FHFA article. It wasn't something that was even published. We just found it. So I want to tell you guys something. I'm going to have Julie explain it. That's going to simply blow you away. This is one of our predictions, but we're about probably 75% sure we're right on this. But if we're right, this is going to change everything like in meaningful ways, especially in your market. Julie, go ahead. You know what I'm talking about.
Are you talking about the mortgage porting?
Yes.
Yep. Portability.
Okay. Yes, this is very, very interesting, a fascinating new product that has already been deployed and adopted in Canada and the UK. And most of you guys know that Canada tends to be even more conservative with their mortgage lending than we are. So I think that's a good sign. What is mortgage porting? It is allowing you, let's say that you are somebody that owns a home in Las Vegas. It's worth $500,000. You owe $300,000 on it. And you got your mortgage during the pandemic and you don't want to break up with your 3.5% fixed rate, thus locking down inventory and stymieing sales because you're not buying and letting go of that. You will hopefully, again, this is something that we're watching, and there have been some instances of this being adopted in the US already. The Trump administration has said this in some of their reporting that they're looking at it. It allows you to take, let's say that you've got that $300,000 balance and you're going to buy a $600,000 house. You move that $300,000 balance with your 3.5% interest rate over to your new home. You still sell the old home, you still pay off that mortgage, but you keep that $300,000 worth of debt at your lower rate. And then you either pay cash for the remainder on that move up, or you finance that separately. So you might have $300,000 at 3.5% and another $200,000 at 5.75%. And then you had $100,000 down payment, something like that, which is basically a hybrid type of approach. And it could defeat the whole lock-in effect, which I know you guys still have a lot of that lingering in Vegas.
That would be unbelievable. And we definitely have heard of that. And let's hope that it comes true.
Fascinating product, right? I mean, very creative.
Julie said something earlier that's really important. If you guys have listings that are setting, the thing to do, and Bob said this, is take more listings. That's the antidote for a slow listing selling, is take more listings, because going into the spring, they're all going to sell off. And that's just it's going to be really incredible. So like I said, make sure you're working now as if your spring had already started. So effectively, we've been in a real estate recession, if not a depression, for the last 3 years. And I mean, it is what it is. And so the numbers play this out. There's going to be something like 4 million home sales this year. For the market to return to normal, there has to be around 5.5 million. So what you're seeing the administration, what they're going to do is they're going to create more buyers through more flexible mortgages, less down payment requirements. They change the credit scoring, so more people are going to qualify. And I'll tell you, in your guys' market, a lot of your hypothetical buyers, which were making money different ways, right? They're the ones that have been cut out from buying homes because, maybe you're a full-time school teacher, but you drive Uber on the weekend, and, they weren't allowing you to qualify for 100% of the Uber income, that kind of thing. So all that's changed with this new credit scoring mechanism. But what we're also going to see, and your market's going to benefit from this as well, because there's a lot of federal land. And again, we've picked enough of this up that we believe it's true, that the federal government is going to do a private-public partnership with new construction. I mean, Pulte is the head of the FHFA, which is in charge of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. I mean, that should be fairly obvious. But they're going to be working with the builders to build and subsidize builders to build homes for first-time buyers, because the first-time buyer inventory, there's not enough of it, and builders can't make any profit building houses that are essentially first-time home buyer houses. So the government, like after World War II, is going to work with the builders to help essentially a lot of them qualify, build homes that make sense, and then help people get into those houses. So all of this, should give us some feedback. What are you guys thinking right now? Is this great? Are you excited? Are you motivated? If you're not, I don't know what to tell you.
We are very motivated. It's fabulous stuff, and it's right on point. I think it's extremely accurate as well.
Yeah, there you go. I love the feedback. All right,
Well,
good.
there's one more thing with the mortgages too that has come from the current administration. They have had some discussion about changing the debt to income ratio requirements, which also haven't changed in 30 years.
Correct.
If a house has gotten that much more expensive, and you have everything otherwise paid off, it should be okay for you to have maybe a 53% debt to income ratio instead of having to be at 43% because the house is so expensive. So what I like about this is that they're attacking it from multiple different stances. It's not just, the headlines will tell you we need the housing market to crash, we need prices to come down. But there's so many other things that go into the housing market, and it hasn't been until now that anybody has really taken things under that microscope and said, well, what about these other 4 or 5 different things? So that's pretty exciting. And one thing that I wanted you guys to make sure you've got in your talking points, millennials, this is from point number 4. In 2025, 52% of millennials said that they, in surveys, et cetera, lots of different sources on this, that they intend to purchase a home. Now, how many, this is a math problem, that's 38 million prospective buyers. Why? Because the millennial generation is the biggest one in history of 73 million. So just do the math. If 52% of them wanted to purchase a home in 2025, again, pent-up demand, that's 38 million. We're only closing 4 million right now. Let's say that all the people that did these surveys were off by half. You're still okay. Okay. And that's just counting millennials. So that again speaks to the pent-up demand. And Gen Z stance is even bigger. They're around 69 million strong. They're even more eager. They're saying 67% of them plan to purchase a home in 2025. That's another 46 million potential buyers. I think that's enough.
What do we got? We got a massive wealth transfer. We got mortgages that are going to be easier to obtain. But the most important thing of all the points we've given you guys so far is we have a massive amount of people that want to buy a house over the next 20 years. And so here's what's going to happen. Transactional count will increase. It's inevitable. New builds are going to increase. But here's the other thing that nobody's predicting. Mark our words on this. The number of people, Bob, you like this, number of people getting real estate licenses is absolutely going to increase because there's going to be an increased demand. And you guys, and I'm not going to vamp about AI, but you do not have anything to worry about with regards to AI replacing you, because AI will never have a real estate license. And you have to have a real estate license to transact. Now, AI is going to replace a lot of the stuff you guys do, but it's never going to replace working directly with buyers and sellers ever.
Amen.
And there's such a huge surge of people that want to transact with you. And guess what? They're going to be able to get mortgages. They're going to have maybe inheriting some money. There's going to be more homes to look at. This is what it feels like to be in the right place at the right time. In my professional life, I have never seen this level of, essentially the tailwinds leading into a new year ever. I mean, for how many years have we all been looking over our shoulders about mid-year and knowing for sure the market was going to drop off the second half? Now, for the first time, not in every market, but most markets, we're seeing an increase in activity, increase in mortgage activities. People are feeling the vibe that we're leading into something completely different. And this is before the administration has released the dogs of the housing war. Did I say that right? Something like that.
Something like that.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
And
so
NAR just came out and said, expect this fourth quarter to feel more like spring. That's all good.
Absolutely.
I know you guys all, and I can tell from our coaching clients that's starting to happen.
And Tim, I think something that was pretty powerful. So much of this can seem self-serving from a standpoint of, wow, realtors are going to do great, and isn't that wonderful? And it is. But you took it to a much higher level when you discussed the societal impact. And that is what I think is so important for all of our listeners and all of our agents to hear, is we talk about how being in the real estate business truly is a noble cause. The impact on the overall GDP that real estate has, when you look at any CNBC or anything else, housing, housing, housing. It is so important to our national economy, and the government realizes that, and they want to do everything they can to fuel it. So I thought, Tim, those points were fabulous as well. Thank you.
By the way, Bob, those are the points that Housing Wire wouldn't let us put it in the article. They clipped that because they didn't want it to sound political. And I don't mean for it to sound political either, but the truth is that's definitely what's going to happen.
Amen.
I don't know what the average age of your agent is. You know, Julie and I have, I'm not allowed to say Julie's age, but I can say what our combined age is. Our combined age is, our combined age is 109. So, but the reality of it is when we were growing up, and half of you probably, owning a home was the American dream.
Yep.
And what came from that? It came from an opportunity to build wealth. It came with it better schools, better quality of, and closer in relationships. People weren't so societally positioned against each other. And if you think, well, when did all that change? When did all this, you know, societal stuff happen? And I'm not going to sound political. I'm doing my best not to. When did it actually happen? It happened about the same time people had a hard time getting mortgages. It happened about the same time when people lost hope in the American dream of owning a home and building wealth. It happened at the same time when people were looking over their shoulders and thought, well, the quality of my life and how I grew up isn't going to be the same as what I am able to provide for my children. And look at all the downstream negative effects from that. Family formation dropped off and all the rest of it. But what we're going to see and what's happened societally is the pendulum. The pendulum swung way too far to one side, and now it's swinging all the way to the other side. And what I'm really surprised by is how fast it's swung. And it's going to continue to swing. And as more, even in the most societally, you know, confused areas of the country, when those people can go buy houses, they're all of a sudden going to start basically realizing that it's not too late for them, that they can actually participate in the American dream. That's when our country goes back to being in alignment with, you know, the values that we were all formed and essentially all, you know, most of us grown up to believe and feel. And I love the fact that Bob started this with, you know, how he did. So what other questions or comments do you guys have? Because we have a lot of other notes. I don't want to get off anything. Is there anything in particular? Put it in chat.
Anyone has any questions, feel free to do so.
Nope. Okay. So let's keep moving. I'm going to go off our outline, Julie. So if I were you guys right now and I are preparing, this is how Julie and I are preparing our coaching clients. We're having them do the opposite of what everybody else is saying. We're having them do the opposite of what the industry has traditionally said. We're having them do the opposite of what their, you know, own brains are telling them to do. This time of year is when most people take break. They say, screw it. I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to, you know, whatever. I'm not going to, the market, there's less activity. And I know you guys are in a market where there's a lot of snowbirds, so maybe not so much for you. But
the holidays are no holiday at Coldwell Banker Premier Realty, Tim and Julie.
I'm sure. That's right. You know, and I also am going to suggest this. One of the greatest early Christmas gifts or Hanukkah gifts or Kwanzaa gifts or whatever you can give to yourself is going to be stop watching the news. And I know that's hard, but if you want to really have control of your mindset, and if you really want to be able to be mentally and emotionally in a position to be in alignment with your soul, which in your highest and truest purpose, which is being of service to other people, you've got to stop allowing people to manipulate you. And I don't care if it's CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News, or whatever the heck else, just give yourself a freaking break. Take a week off, take a month off, and you'll be blown away by how all of a sudden you're starting to feel happier, more optimistic, more motivated, frankly. That's how if you want to really shortcut getting your head junk, you know, cleared out, that's how to do it. Just completely stop allowing anything to negatively influence you. Because I don't know about you, but when was the last time you guys came across any story on any news channel that was positive about housing?
When I read yours.
Exactly. So who wants us to believe that the American dream is to never own a home again? I don't have an answer, by the way, but look at all the people that want us to believe, that are trying to feed into the fear and loathing of people being left out of essentially the American dream. I keep on going back to that, but that's what we're really going to start vibing with. And here's what's really kind of astonishing to me is next year is America's 250th birthday. We're going to have Make Housing Great Again, which I hope is what Trump calls it, because that's such a good name for it, such good branding. So if we're going to do Make Housing Great Again, next year's going to be 250th anniversary. You are going to have a flurry of activity like you've never experienced before, no matter how long you've been in the business. And look, we're going to still have headwinds. There's still going to be people that are going to be pessimistic. There's still going to be people that want to believe that their best days. You have to set those people to ignore. Okay.
If you have to say, if it's meant to be, it's up to me, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that you can control. You can control what you do every day. You're either self-employed or unemployed every day, depending on what your activities are. And I know, to go back to something that Tim said, do the opposite of what you might feel like doing this time of year. A lot of you have more listings than you've ever had before. Some of you have never had to have a price adjustment conversation before. And what I have heard and read online, and sometimes even from our own coaching clients, is like, why would I want more listings? Why do I want more of that kind of stress?
Yep.
Because because of all the things that we talked about today, because of the pent-up demand, because rates are going to come down, because mortgages are going to become easier to do, because there will be more sales next year. So the answer is always take more listings.
This is exactly like, Tim and Julie, this is exactly like when the pandemic hit and we saw all the cancellations. We saw inventory rise like it's never risen before. And I was telling everyone, congratulations, because those listings, as you know, they all got sucked up. And I think we're in a similar place now. It may be a little bit more protracted, but definitely a similar place. Great points.
Well, for sure. But Bob, think about this. So there's listings in your market that are expiring. Can one of you guys pull me up and tell me how many expireds happened in your market in the last 12 months? All expireds, land,
Joel
lots,
Lifshitz can. Joel Lifshitz can.
You guys are so organized. I'm sure you all have it in front of you. But tell me how many expireds there's been. And then I want somebody to figure out how many of those expireds relisted and sold in 2025.
Well, we know from NAR and from Altos that around about 50% will relist and sell. At least
something like 90% within 180 days actually sell. So here's the usual pattern for an expired listing. And Julie and I teach this in our coaching program. Obviously, expireds in your market are going to be an absolute cash cow. If I were you, it would be what Bob said, centers of influence and past clients at the start for sure, but go after the expireds like with ruthless abandon, because the usual problem with the expireds is they're overpriced, price, condition, location, right? So I mean, there's not much you can do about condition unless they're going to, fill in the, pool or add a bedroom or whatever. Location is what location is. So the traditional coaching and training has always been to go after the seller for price. And I'm here to tell you, and pay attention to this because you might not be experiencing in your marketplace yet. Price is not going to be the problem because there's going to be an increased demand. So when all the other agents are, trying to prospect expireds and all the other agents are saying, lower your price. Here's a great line for you. Mr. Seller, sometimes the best homes don't sell, and it may not be for the reason you've been told, right? Get really freaking good at expireds. If you've never done proactive lead generation, picking up the phone and prospecting, learn now, because that is going to be the single greatest way for you guys to leverage the opportunities as we roll into next year is build inventory. Build inventory fast. And guess what? When you have inventory, your own personal inventory, you do not ever have to think about buying a buyer lead again because the buyers will find you.
Huge. Agreed.
Yes. I mean, that's it.
That's right. And going after expireds is the highest and best use of your skills. You've got sellers who absolutely have to sell, not all of them, but if somebody is going to relist with you fourth quarter, going into the holidays, going into the new year, that person probably absolutely has to sell. And some of them have yet to buy. So when you call on those expireds, and even for sale by owners, you may be creating not one transaction for yourself, but two, and then of course, repeat and referral from there. One of the best things about expireds and for sale by owners is you can curate your own listing inventory. What's better than that? You know,
Did someone pull up the
even
numbers?
when you talk to your past clients in center of influence, of course, they know, love, and trust you, and we want to take good care of them. But you can't tell me necessarily which one of them from your database is going to list with you right now. All of my current coaching clients have a list of their top 20 expireds they're going after based on geographic location that they're going to be able to service them, the price range that they want, neighborhoods they want to break into, neighborhoods where they have personally had recent sales. So there's some name recognition and a sold sign. And those are the ones that between now and our next coaching call, they have to find a way to communicate with. Call,
Love it.
text, email, pop by, door knock, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Find who needs to sell. It's not going to be all 20 of them, but how many new listings do you need to take this week? What if you got 2?
How many expireds in the last 6 months? Who's got the number? Oh, come on.
Joel, I can't believe you didn't put something in there. And we do track it, and John McClellan could put it in there too. Our
I
vice president
bet
of
there
research.
were thousands and
Yes.
thousands and thousands, right?
That's-
Over- what do you
7,020
think?
in about the past 12 months, according to Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, how much? Okay, 7,020. All right. So, and if Matt rather were to go and check to see how many of those relisted, what's your average sale price in your market? 425 probably?
Actually, it was 440 last month.
Nice. All right. So let's say the average commission is $10,000. Okay, there you go. Very good, John. All right. So John said of the 7,000, 2340 got relisted in the last 180 days. So I'm going to just let's just focus on the top line number. It's more fun. 7,020 times $10,000 is how much? Who's going to do the math? Don't make me do the math. And put it in chat. Because that's the amount of money just on the listing side that was made on those listings selling.
Mhm.
How much is it? What is that
7
number?
million. 7
Yes.
million.
No, it's more than that.
It's 70 million. I think
Yeah,
it's 7
70
million.
million. Yeah. There you go.
60s.
That means from just the expireds in your market.
And just one side of those expireds. That
Just
doesn't even
some-
count for the buy sides.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Just on one side, $70 million. Now, why the heck, if you're in your market, knowing now what you know, you wouldn't be going after listings like a crazy person is beyond me, especially since we've seen how much money there is to earn. So go and look, do the math. There's roughly thank you, John and Matt. There were 7,000 expireds in the last 12 months. 2,340 got relisted, and that was a single family only, by the way. We're not dealing with commercials, lots, land, and the rest of it. That means there's roughly, 4,500 homes that have expired this year that nobody's relisted yet, right? So I want you to tell me, give me one good reason why you wouldn't be learning how to be an absolute expired hunter. Put it in chat. Someone come up with
None whatsoever. They can't.
There is no
They
answer.
can't come up with a good reason. The beauty of this is that, as you both know, there has been a period of time where truly nothing expired. And so we didn't have expired listings. And so those agents that were expert at it, they didn't have much to be able to garner. But now we're seeing that surge in a significant way. And to your point, expireds also sell, and there's dollars there. So that's fabulous stuff.
Well, let me think about it, Bob. You have unexpired. Let's say all you do is off the expired listing you take. All you do is you have the benefit of the, just the listing commission. But a lot of you are going to double in your own listings. Okay, what if that expired seller has to go buy a house, right? Now you're going to get a buyer side. What if the neighbor you sold this expired listing, and then you get that listing? All of this activity comes from going to say it, not marketing and branding, not advertising, not social media. All those things have a place. But if you really want to build a momentum into the new year, go where the activity is, go where the opportunity is. And that's right now in your market, most markets, it's expired listings. This is the single best time to hunt expired listings. Julie and I used to sell real estate. We sold over 100 homes our first year in the business when we were in our early 20s. We sold thousands of homes in our career. And I have to tell you, this is the first time since we've started becoming full-time coaches that I actually I'm jealous of you guys in the market.
We live vicariously.
I tell this to Julie. I would love to go. I'll give you advanced player notes here. Go to the expensive markets. Go to where you've always wanted to sell real estate, where you can make big commissions, because that's where you're going to find the least skilled competition on the upper end markets. The least skilled agents are typically the upper end agents, and you're going to get obviously the most benefit. Now, if you believe that the market's going to start recovering because all these other things that are happening as far as, more people in the marketplace, you're going to be sitting on the turn of a market. You're going to be sitting on expensive inventory, and you now are going to start commanding luxury listings on a regular basis. Julie and I did this in our own careers when we were selling real estate. We went to an average sale price market to the most expensive market that we could frankly find in our community. And we did it by going after expired listings.
It
Beautiful.
only takes the first one.
Yep.
You take the one that you're after. Think about my clients and their 20 that they're going after. You list that, you deploy your open house systems. One thing turns into the next, that turns into a sold sign, that turns into a postcard that says sold in less than 30 days for 99% of list price. And the snowball starts to roll for you. It only takes one. And
Amen.
you don't have to be super perfect at it either. You want to earn while you learn. You don't have to wait until you're the best at it. You just have to take that first step up the ladder.
Go after
Music to my ears, music to my ears. You guys are amazing. We got 10 minutes left. You tell us how you want to spend it.
Well, I'll
Any
just say this.
questions?
Go after the older, most expensive expireds first, because most agents aren't going to go after the older, most expensive expireds first. They're going to go after what they're going to like. This is the time for you to start thinking really, really big. It's this market for a lot of agents in the last 3 years has been brutal. It's just no doubt it's been brutal. This is your opportunity to go back to thinking big. And if you think you're thinking big, maybe double, triple, quadruple what you've been thinking about. Go realize that there's no question. I want you guys to actually internalize this thought. If you're still believing your best days are behind you, if you don't believe that your best days are still ahead of you, that there's so much life left to come, so many opportunities you have to see, so many dreams you have to accomplish. What effect does that have on your future? Okay. So if you believe, and I don't care how old you are, if you believe your best days are behind you, what actions are you taking today? Are you going after expireds? Are you allowing yourself to be motivated? Are you losing that pesky 20 pounds? Are you starting to plan vacations? So your actions that you take today in real estate will pay you 90 days from now, 6 months from now, will pay you into the future. But if you're hanging on to pessimistic thoughts about yourself or the market in general, you are going to make that, reality your reality. You're actually going to make your future bleak while everybody else's benefit. And you won't realize you did it until a year from now when you're looking over your shoulder and realize that these goofballs, Tim and Julie Harris, we're telling you the absolute truth, and you should have taken what we are suggesting these ideas, taking them seriously. I know Bob's also been helping you guys to understand you are in the right place at the right time. I wouldn't have told you that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. For sure, we didn't listen to our thousands of past podcasts, but we're telling you that now. So let's have some fun. Let's have some fun questions.
So there are some fun questions in the chat, and one of the questions had to do with whether or not you felt the mortgage changes would apply to refinances. My personal thought is that they won't, only because the whole purpose is to stimulate the marketplace, and refinances don't necessarily do that. But do you have a different opinion?
They'll definitely you can't do one without the other. I mean, when interest rates fall. Oh, you're asking me. I'm not sure if I understand.
Like the porting it well.
Those incentive programs that were going to be done, where the portability perhaps, portability obviously wouldn't apply.
Breaking up with it. Yeah.
Right. But
it will obviously new mortgage. It's already in place. Vantage score. That's what's taking place with FICO. I just remembered.
Well, so like the credit stuff should apply to the refi.
Definitely.
That certainly is all about qualifying. But some of the other things are probably going to be incentives for new purchases and porting and things like that. Somebody also asked where we do our research. We've got a variety of different things. And just so you know, everything that we publish or we talk about on the podcast is very well researched. We are our own fact checkers because we tend to be very positive. And we want to make sure that we're not just having confirmation bias. So I want, Housing Wire, Altos Research. Mike Simonson does a great video every week about what's happening. You can personalize your research. I'm sure you guys have lots of research as well, but that's what I look at.
I put in, someone asked about where to get expired data. There, I just gave the information to you. If you guys text the word RED, R-E-D, to 47372, REDX gives you a pretty big discount. We usually only give that to our coaching clients, but there you go. You guys can have it as well. And if they ask you where you got the code, just tell them you're our coaching clients. Shh.
Awesome. So Diane Varney asked a question that I think is an appropriate question, because we see the future as being great. We see property values increasing, et cetera, et cetera. And so the question she had is, in essence, how do we convince a seller to sell now if the thought is that the market is going to get better? Have you been posed with that question, and what are your thoughts on it?
Well, so if you're dealing, first of all, you got to go back to the seller's motivation. I know, again, you guys are in a market, but you always got to look for the sellers that absolutely have to sell. Those are, when you're calling through the lists, ideally, Mr. Seller, how soon would you have liked this home to have sold? Well, we we wanted it to have sold already. This is you calling expired. So Mr. Seller, when this property sells, where are you moving next? Well, I'm moving to Las Vegas. Well, that's exciting. Las Vegas, ideally, how soon do you need to be there? Well, no particular day and time, right? So that's not a motivated seller. Whereas they'll say, well, we should have been there already. Okay, already. I'm sorry that you're stuck here. And do you already have another house purchase? Yes, we're making 2 house payments. You guys get the difference? So when you got to go through all your existing listings and remind yourself what their levels of motivation are. And it doesn't mean that an unmotivated seller won't sell, but here's the counterbalance. If you're so a seller is going to say, I want to take my house off the market and wait until the spring. Well, Mr. Seller, I know that's something that people say a lot this time of year, but let me ask you a question. If there was an absolute 100% financial benefit to you having your house for sale now that could amount to thousands of more dollars in your pocket, would you still want to take your house off the market now? And they're going to say, well, no, I suppose I wouldn't. Well, and then you're going to have to explain to them why that's true. Less inventory. And now we know statistically there's going to be an increase in buyer demand from all these things that we're talking about, which let's just call it make housing great again. So there's going to be less inventory from sellers that got bad advice from ill-skilled agents taking their homes off the market. And we're going to see an increase in buyer demand going into the year. You guys following me on all this? And what's the number one place to get motivated buyer and seller leads? Listings, not Zillow.
Yep. Amen. Wow. Sounds like we're both not into to buying leads, and more into the sweat of the brow activities that generate even better opportunities for us. That is fabulous stuff. And we seem to be in agreement on a lot of things, Harris's. Thank you so much for being with us. Are there any other questions that anyone would like to ask? Yes.
Can I reframe that for just a second, that question? And thank you so much for the answer.
You bet.
Local sellers want to buy. And so I think if you kind of flip the script, which is kind of the advice that I was asking for, is how do we convince them that it's okay to sell now at what they would consider a low, because they're going to do better on the buy side, and at the end of the day gain more equity from the purchase in the home that they're living in. Give me a great speak on that.
Well, so in your marketplace, like most marketplaces, most sellers aren't going to want to take a home sale contingency, especially if there's a lot of other prospective buyers on the house. Agreed, Diane? Yes. Okay. So if you can help, that seller is going to have more, you're right about what you said, right? So the seller's going to have more buying power if they're not only obviously approved for their mortgage, but also don't have a property to sell. Now, if you have a seller that doesn't care about whether their house sells and they can, own 2 homes at once, that's a different conversation. But in your particular example, that's the way I would position it. You're in a better position competing against all the other buyers going into the spring. If you're just going to move from a rental with, 30 days notice into your new house, that gives you a power position over the other. And again, this is a price point thing too. So if you're dealing with someone that's in like the 3rd or 4th move up in their lives and they're buying a house, I don't know, 800 million, 1.5 million, chances are whoever the buyers are now buyer, your seller is going to be competing against, they're going to have homes to sell, which is going to put your buyers in a more powerful position. Does that make sense?
The other thing that I would add is that buying up in a down market is almost always the best time for the purchaser. So if you're selling a $500,000 home and you're taking a little bit of a cut on it, and the $1 million home is selling for actually twice that cut. So buying up in a down market is a good thing to do, and it's just a matter of being able to articulate that. And I would say even more so that the $1 million market is a little bit more challenged right now than the $500,000 market. So it's really just, it always comes down to motivation, but ultimately we have to be able to articulate the benefit of doing it in this market, and that's one of the reasons for me. Any other questions, or Tim and Julie, wrap it up for us, if you will.
Bob, you'll have to help me remind me who said this, but when people are being fearful, be greedy, and when people are being greedy, be
Warren
fearful,
Buffett.
right?
Warren
Yes,
Buffett.
I think, right, Warren Buffett. So right now, would you guys say people are feeling ambitious? Let's replace the word greedy with ambitious and optimistic, or would you say they're feeling primarily fearful? Put in your comment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's you guys are gonna, I'm sure, put in fearful. There you go. So when the market is feeling fear, especially other real estate practitioners in general, you have to go the exact opposite direction. You have to be positioning yourself to take advantage of this market. So when a fisherman cannot go out to sea because the waters are too choppy, he stays home and fixes his nets. That's what hopefully we're doing for all of you guys today. The fixing of the nets is getting your mindset right, getting your skill set right. And now you have to be looking at the start of your new year as being, guess what? Tomorrow, not January 1st. It's tomorrow. So do everything, be extra ambitious. Whatever your vision you have for yourself, or what you can sell, how much money you can make, double it, triple it, quadruple it. Because the market is going to reward the ambitious. Or to quote Warren, it's going to reward the greedy. Again, I'm not a big fan of that word, but you guys get the gist of what I'm saying.
Amen. Absolutely. All right, Julie, you get to finish it.
Well, I think now more than ever is the time that you guys have to drill down with your own calendars. At the top of this session, it was 92 days to go in this year. How many of those days are work days? Real work days, where you're working and you're not in the gray area. Give yourself some grace for the holidays, but schedule it so that when it's a work day, you're actually working. Then look at how many of those days there are. Of 92, you might only have a real, let's say 45 work days. But what will you accomplish in those 45 days? So here's how we do this using our real estate treasure map and our coaching. The first number is, what do you have to earn? Let's say for between now and the end of the year, let's just take fourth quarter. What do you have to earn? What is your spouse contributing? But what do you have to earn? That's a number. What would you love to earn to make this your best quarter ever, your best Christmas ever, your best Hanukkah ever, your best end to the year ever? Where you are on New Year's Eve and you look back at this year, instead of saying, well, it was another kind of down year, maybe I'll do better next year, you look back and you go, that was an amazing year. And here's why. 1, 2, 3, ABC, this is what I did. So set some specific goals. You know what you have to earn, so maybe you double that. How many listings would it take of your existing listing inventory? Who's actually got to sell and who's probably going to give up that you need to replace tomorrow in your listing inventory? Of your buyers, how many of your buyers have been re-qualified with a lower interest rate who are only not in contract because you haven't found them something? Buyers unencumbered by having to sell, for example. All of those, 100% of buyers that have that profile should be pending certainly before the end of the year, maybe even closed before the end of the year. Think bigger. What happens if you double what you think you're going to do? You have the power to do that. And take seriously, we had a lot of discussion about expireds, and certainly for sale by owners, they're in that bucket. Of the people you are going to talk to the people who are most likely to actually need what you do for a living, who need your help. Don't do circle prospecting and cold door knocking. Talk to people who have their hand in the air. I had a coaching client yesterday. She made one for sale by owner call, her first one ever in her life. Guess what? She has a listing appointment this weekend. It can be like that. Not every time is your ratio going to be 1 for 1, but it's for sure not going to be if you don't make that call. And if you're more comfortable going to the door, that's okay too. But what I'm asking you to do is to think bigger and to be very specific in your goals, very specific with what you want. Don't just say, I've got to do better, I've got to do more. I have to make more. I've never had a coaching client say, I need to make less this month. No, define it. Is that 3 more transactions this year than you thought you would do? Is it 1 more listing a week? Some of you guys are capable of doing that, but set specific goals.
Tim and Julie Harris, this has been an amazing hour together. I cannot thank you enough. And how would it be, ladies and gentlemen, to have Tim and Julie every single day? You have the opportunity to do so. So make sure you subscribe and take advantage of the amazing information that they are providing on a very consistent basis. We sincerely appreciate you both. Hopefully we may be able to come together again and have you update us on some of the amazing thing that's happening within the marketplace. Thank you both. Have a great rest of 2025 and a wonderful 2026. I know you are going to cause that to happen for yourselves, and we encourage the rest of you to do the same. Thanks to all of you for attending. We appreciate it. And remember what Floyd Wickman says, education without application is worse than worthless. And I say, better you not know. Now you know a whole lot more than you did when you walked into this session. So take advantage of it. Thanks, everyone. Make it a great day and a great balance of the week. Thanks, Tim
God
and Julie.
bless.
Thank you, Bob.
Bye-bye.
Hello, thank you for having watched this video. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
That's right. And don't forget to hit that like button, leave your comments and questions below, and we will get right back with you.
Thank you for watching this video. And remember to watch the next one. You're going to love that one.